You can look at it right there. Just 2 wins in their last 9, the 5-time World Cup champions. I feel like we're going to talk a lot about Brazil. Obviously, a disappointing evening. But as the only defensive player on this panel, Ali, I got to come to you. What do we think of Costa Rica's effort tonight defensively? How were they able to keep Brazil off the board?
Well, I think it's, that low block defending and not necessarily parking the bus, but they were super compact. They were organized, and it was difficult to play through them. Yes, Brazil is so technical and skillful that they can combine in and around the box, and they did get through a few times. Obviously, you see the shots on goal, and they put them on target. But the set pieces were also well done. Unfortunately, because of the offsides, they got called back. But they did create chances. They couldn't find the back of the net. And it's difficult when a team sits back, and I've experienced that too in World Cup qualifying, where you have teams of, maybe the level isn't as high as the United States, and we've had to fight our way through, a solid back line. You could see in Costa Rica, as soon as they lost the ball, every player gets in behind the ball and gets organized, stays compact. And I think that's why it was really difficult, to play through that.
We've said, Ale, throughout our coverage kind of leading into this tournament, we weren't sure about Brazil. Given that, this is still a shocking result, right?
Yes, it is. It's still Brazil, and it's still Brazil in Copa America, and it's still Brazil with, comparatively speaking, to Costa Rica, a lot of talent. Now, comparatively speaking, to other Brazilian teams, that's the problem. We come to expect a certain level of play from Brazil that is just not quite there with this group. And Ali mentions that Costa Rica weren't parking the bus. Exactly. Well, if they were not parking the bus, they were at least flashing the parking lot. It felt like they were not going out for a ride anytime soon.
Yeah.
And understandably so.
Yeah.
I'm not blaming Costa Rica for approaching the game in that manner. For them, tying this game is winning this game, essentially. So the responsibility is on Brazil. And what I wanted to see from Brazil, and it's something that we talked about leading up to this match and leading up to this competition, is to see, for example, Vini Jr. take over Brazil, put the team on his shoulders. And this was the sort of game that required an individual effort in order to break through. And we saw very little from Vini. He was more concerned about doing the things that we talked about yesterday, and that was talking to the referee, talking to the defender, talking to the goalkeeper, talking to everybody instead of playing the game. And so much so that towards the end of the match, what does Dorival Jr. decide? You know what? The manager says, Vini Jr., you may be the best player in the world currently. We're going to take you off. That's a big, major decision to make in a game that is 0-0, and that is supposed to be your best player. But it kind of tells you sort of the story of the match for Vini Jr., that he was not impactful. But you can say that about many players in Brazil. You just don't see clarity in attack. What you see is individuals. So Savinho comes on the field, dribble, trying to create something. Martinelli comes on the field, dribble, trying to create something. Endrick, same thing, same story. The combination play that is required in order to break a team down is not quite there from Brazil, and you have absolutely zero support or productivity coming out of the midfield. Lucas Paquetá missed a bunch of half chances and half opportunities in the first half, and all we saw from him during the course of the match is look up at the sky and ask for help. How does this happen? How does this happen? Look, if you miss 3 or 4 chances, I think you begin to get the answer that maybe I'm the problem. It's not up there that's the problem. It's not Costa Rica that's the problem. I'm missing the opportunity. He's looking for help in the wrong places.
Was it a mistake to take off Vini with 20 minutes to go?
No. Listen, Ali says he's the best player in the world right now. He's the best club player in the world right now. I don't think he's the best international player in the world right now. He's got 3 goals to his name. 3 goals to him. Paqueta has more goals at the international level. Marquinhos has more goals at the international level. It's great that you play for Real Madrid. It's great that you're a Ballon d'Or candidate. But with Brazil, you've not done anything of worth. Now, he did get taken down, and what I thought was an obvious penalty kick that was not called. Okay? That's not an excuse. Maybe it changes the game for Brazil. Brazil has not played up to par. I agree with Ali. This Brazil roster is probably the worst roster I've seen in my lifetime. Reminds me of the 2016 Copa America Dunga roster. Certainly not filled with talent. This Brazilian team, for as good as the individual parts are, have not performed at any type of level that's anywhere respectable for Brazil. 3 losses in the first 6 games of World Cup qualifying. It's a team that has no identity, has no style, very robotic through the midfield. Other teams don't respect them. You got a Costa Rica team that turned out a 0-0 very gritty win or draw, which just feels like a win for them, but should never happen. Now let me talk to you really quickly about this Costa Rica team and who they just played, who Brazil just played. Gustavo Alfaro, with this Costa Rica team, which is the youngest team in Copa America, managed a draw versus a historic team in name, Brazil, with a bunch of kids. Had a teenager in the center back position. A real generational change. For you fan bases that think you have a generational change going, this is an actual generational change. Domestic players that are trying to make their name, given a chance at the international level. Only 2 players on this team with more than 30 appearances for their nation. No more Celso Borges, no more Keylor Navas, no more Brian Ruiz.
We still got Joel Campbell.
We still got Joel Campbell.
He's still hanging in there.
But what they managed to do, forget what you heard about Brazil and disrespect or whatever. Give this Costa Rican team some credit. They parked the bus in the way that Morocco did in the World Cup,
No,
and
they did not. They did not.
they got
Ali said they did not.
And they got a very
The attackers
good,
think
very
something is
good
parking
result.
the bus. The defenders may have a slightly
Hey,
different take
you
on
have
it.
to get a point.
Of course, and they got a great result.
Yep.
Can I just say, and this is just an observation, and I think it does play a part in the match, particularly in a match in which you have so many numbers behind the ball like Costa Rica. The width of the field, the field dimensions at SoFi Stadium. For those of you old school MLS fans out there, let me just tell you, this field is narrower than Spartan Stadium.
The old Clash Stadium.
Yeah, Spartan Stadium, which was considered to be, my goodness, it couldn't be any narrower. Yes, it can, and it's at SoFi Stadium. And so it makes it easier, not that it is easy, but it makes it easier for a team to be able to make the spaces more compact, to be able to close down the spaces. It closes down the space for a guy like Vinny Jr. and Rodrigo and Savinho and Endrick and Martinelli. They no longer have space to operate because the field dimensions do not allow you to do that. It feels like a futsal exercise out there. So it's not an excuse for Brazil. They should have won this game regardless, but still, I think it impacts the way that the game was played.
So Brazil and Costa Rica end up scoreless. Up next for Brazil, it's Paraguay. Up next for Costa Rica, it's Colombia. Both those games on Friday.